and the reason we wanted to speak really was we moved here 2 years ago, and I have a banking background in finance, so I often try and make a decision based on my head, and then look to communicate with my heart. And I think what's really important for me is that an effective decision is one that works in the long term. And I'm slightly perplexed as somebody that tries to look at everything from every angle, and this is the right decision for the long term. I don't see it. I think the long term that we're looking for is education and quality of education for the whole of the West White for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I think if you take Paul Brading's 3 headings that he chose to put in front of us, then it doesn't stack up. I think people in this room articulate it better than I, but if you look from a geography perspective, the location of the school, what it's got, the facilities, the growing room, the transport facilities, a whole host of things, including a growing social and economic climate, it makes no sense to position a school somewhere else if you're looking at long-term And I need to be really clear, that isn't about using a colloquialism, dissing other schools, it's just a fact. This is the best location. From a performance perspective, we've heard that the performance is better than it's being represented. But I think the important thing is if you recognise the location is spot on, you can work on the performance and address it. And the key thing is it's probably stronger than ever before. You have a group of people and a community that would help that performance to a greater degree and support the governors should they have the right. Would I agree?
Yes.
I think the other thing that's really important is you talked about the numbers, and for me what's really odd is if you can represent the geography and how good it is here, if you can be in a position to affect the performance and the plan to bring houses here works and to increase jobs and create a thriving high street, then the numbers for the school will improve. And I recognise that might not be today, but without a shadow of a doubt, if you want an option that future-proofs education on the West White, it would be stupid to cut off your nose to spite your face. The last point is that I think this is a decision that's too big for one person. And the reason I think it's a decision that's too big for one person is because if the Isle of Wight's idea is to bring old people as a demographic, apologies, retirees, people who can have a second home, then what that means is you will need to bring younger people in to service their needs and to serve them, and they will require a school and a village. If the Isle of Wight's policy is to bring younger people in who are entrepreneurial, etc., they will need a school that's fit for the future, and you will need to attract dentists and professional people, including doctors, to do so. And unfortunately for me, if you propose that at any other site at this moment in time, that won't occur. So from a policy perspective, for the island and the future of the Isle of Wight, I'm sorry, but trying to be a banker and look at this financially, considering everything you said, it still doesn't make sense long-term or sustainably.
Thank you very much. And obviously all being recorded, trying to pick up some of those questions and perhaps address one or two of those questions directly. I'll go straight back. Of course. I would like to say something.
Thank you. So my name is Rob Simons, I'm Deputy Director of Education for Church of England Diocese of Portsmouth. A bit of a mouthful, but and first of all, I'd like to say that I really admire the passion of your local school. I think it's really commendable. So, and thank you for expressing your views so eloquently. I'd just like to add as well to the balance that the school has also been in receipt of a good science inspection. Science inspection, for those of you who don't know, is the statutory inspection for Anglican and Methodist schools. And for some people that may not be an important judgment. For me it is an important judgment, I hope it is for you as well. because that obviously acknowledges the work the school does in terms of its ethos, its values, what's important in helping children become responsible people, members of the community, and that kind of thing. So I think it's worth mentioning and celebrating that the school has been judged good in that respect, and that's something that we're really pleased about. Clearly, the prospect of the Church of England school closing for us is a very sad prospect. Because we value it, that's why I'm in the job that I do. Our schools provide a good level of education, I believe, because of that foundation in their ethos and values. That being said, many of you want to know what our position is as a diocese in response to this consultation. We are consultees just like yourselves, and I represent an organisation which has due process to follow as well. So my role this evening is to really listen and absorb the opinions and views of the local community. Obviously, we've got to take into account the information presented by the local authority as well, because that can't be ignored, which many of you have acknowledged. But we're really open to looking at and exploring options other than the preferred option. That needs to be considered as well. But there may well be options that we can consider that aren't currently in the consultation as a product of the conversations we've had this evening. So, although I can't give a definitive answer, because we, like the gentleman at the back said, we would not be responsible of us to rush into a response to the consultation. We need to spend time listening to you, listening to the local authority, considering all the facts and opinions that are on the table before we respond. I would like to say that I have been listening very, very carefully, and we will pay very careful attention to all of the views that have been expressed. So, thank you.
Okay. Into the question and answer now. I appreciate that they've already asked quite a number of questions. Carly had a multitude of them, but hopefully Carly will now ask, in order for Ellen to actually record the questions and record the response, we need to perhaps be very succinct about the questions that are coming forward. Okay? I didn't ask for hands, but first hand up is perfectly a good place for us to start.
First hand up. My name's Vixen, I'm a parish councillor here. I've got two questions with my two hats.
Okay.
The first question is, I am a parent of children at Royston School. And I must say, we heard the name Royston several times in your presentation. I've had 3 children through Royston, I'm happy with the school. But I'm wondering why we're not getting the support and we're not getting the spotlight on us. Very clearly, through the statistics that Pepper was talking about, there are issues that other schools on the island, that in the West White, that also need support. And in your options, it's All Saints, All Saints, All Saints, All Saints. As a Bryston parent, and it should be a West White consultation, can you please support Bryston parents as well? And Bryston parents and people elsewhere outside of Freshwater, because it needs to be considered on a much bigger scale. This is not just a Freshwater issue. It is a Bryston issue. So I'm asking about the Bryston. And the second one...
Should we deal with that question first? And when you vote support, do you mean support in this
There's nothing, this is supposed to be a West White consultation, but it's just an All Saints issue. No. And it's not All Saints' issue. It should be the options are far too narrow. As a Bryston parent, I'd appreciate having some support there.
Richard's probably got a response to that.
We have met with all of the heads and chairs, vice chairs, available of all of the schools in the consultation, and we have offered support to all of those heads if they wish to take it up. They're obviously invited to these events, and there is another event yet to come. And to date, those heads have not asked us to put someone on specifically in their areas.
Just because an authority, you should be putting not just a spotlight on one school and one village, it should be the whole.
And I understand, and it's partly driven by the fact that we have to have a preferred option, and that is a road we have to travel.
It wasn't on any of the options.
What was it?
Royston. Royston wasn't on any of the options in your consultation.
No, and as I said earlier, we could have a very long list of every multitude of options. It doesn't mean that have to be considered and discussed with the heads and chairs governors of the schools. Okay. So they're not lost in that sense.
And the second one was as a parish councillor for the area. I don't think this is just an education issue. I think this is a regeneration issue, and it should be a much wider support for us as an area. I think the West White is being abandoned for far too long. I think the repercussions of the closure of the middle school, the demographics have changed in the last sort of 8 years in Freshwater, and this is a symptom of the lack of investment and support and employment opportunities in the West White. And I would appreciate it if I know you're here from an education and a children's point of view, but I would ask how you are working with other cabinet portfolios, other areas of health and social care and housing and employment and forward strategy and planning and development, all of those things. It's not just an education issue, and I don't think it should be judged just as an education issue.
That wasn't specifically a question, but it was more a comment, and we recorded that comment. Okay, is that fair?
That's fine.
That's fair. Thank you. This lady here.
You're quite right, and we're very conscious of the preschool, and there's a commitment from Councillor Braden to keep the preschool. I can only answer the question. There is a commitment to keep and protect the preschool, regardless of anything else. Everyone understands the value and the importance of the preschool.
Could I just ask, for how long?
There was no time frame. It would be indefinitely. There was a need
but I want that recorded. For
and
how long?
There's a statutory duty on the local authority to ensure a sufficiency of places in terms of where it is, and the preschool is meeting that duty. Right. Sorry.
Okay, that was a question specifically about the preschool and Richard Sanders case to address that. There are a few hands popping up. Forgive me if I'm not in particular order this evening here.
Hello, I'm Victoria, I'm a resident. Natalie, I didn't know you'd be here tonight, or else I would have given you plenty of questions. But, first of all, could you explain your role as the school improvement officer for this school or for the whole island?
The whole island.
Okay, in which case, does this school or West White have a particular school improvement officer?
The way that school improvement works across the island is that each school that isn't an academy has a member of staff who's an ex-head teacher allocated to it. They're called the lead learning partner.
Right.
And they call upon, we have quite a big team of English, Maths, SEND advisors, and they pull together a package of support which is tailored to the school.
Right.
And the aim of that support is to help the school, or to give the school actions which, if it acts upon them, will make sure that it improves.
And they're based in Hampshire?
They are based all over Hampshire, yes.
Okay. Can you please explain to everyone how much support this school has had compared to, say, Chillerton? Chillerton and Rookley, Federated School, September last year, requires improvement. Its PAN is 13, so it's a small school, and you know, compared to Brightstone, how many visits has this school had? What are the constraints that you can see, or your colleagues can see, in this school? Is it about pace? Is it about the turnover of staff? And can I thank the Ofsted reports affected the amount of support that my taxes, your taxes, have paid Hampshire to put into this school. Nobody got back to me, I'm afraid. If I'd known your name, I would have obviously emailed you and contacted you, but no, they said they'd get back to me, but they didn't. So is that enough questions for the time being?
Yes.
Yeah.
Natalie will answer as many as she can.
Fantastic, thank
but
you. Now I've got your name, Natalie. I'm on to
I
you.
I was just saying, obviously, get in contact with some of the further questions.
Yes, if you have further questions, which aren't answered now, or you think of any later, then do feel free to.
Thank you.
The work that we do with schools is set up in conversation with the head and the governors, the chair of governors, and it works with what the most recent Ofsted report has said and what we identify to be the needs of the school. In terms of support, I would say that the schools on the island have received an amount of support that is proportionate to their needs, bearing in mind the willingness of people within the school to engage with it, because as you say, you're taxpayers, and if we feel that the support that we're putting in isn't appreciated, then we will have to look at the bigger picture before we decide how we're going to address it. This school has had an amount of support, a lot of support, a significant amount of help, and because our support is scrutinised by our bosses, by Ofsted, we are held to account very rigorously for how schools do. So in a large extent, school performance and their accountability is our accountability. And as we've discussed here, this school has not improved fast enough. And as we know from the July Ofsted report, where they said they've acknowledged the improvements, we've acknowledged the improvements.
Very welcome. You put the bad stuff on the screen.
And what's fast enough? What is fast enough?
If we flick back to the slide where we have the Ofsted, I put...
Yeah, but you haven't actually said what is fast enough. What is fast enough?
I'll come to that in a minute. And there's loads of positive, because I didn't want, especially the staff and people in this room, to feel that the balance wasn't there. So,
But it's not there, that's the point. That is very different to what was read out at the back earlier. That's very different.
Sorry, I just cannot resist saying this. We are taking a measured and careful view on this, and we are not anti the help that's coming into the school, not at all. That second sentence was added because I asked it to be added.
Yeah.
It's not in the report. It wasn't in that set of slides when there was a presentation given to staff. And the Bryston one was equally selected.
There are others who want to ask questions.
People might assume from something Natalie said, and I'm sure this isn't what she intended, that there's an implication that the staff aren't willing to work with that support. We have been, we do, we are very willing, and I'm sure Natalie will clarify that.
I thought my view was that she was making a holistic point rather than specifically about staff. But I absolutely respect that it might have come across like that.
And I was halfway through explaining, so please, for the record, please make sure that the comment that I made about how our support goes in is not yet anything to do with what's happened at the school. So if I now go back to what's happened at the school, we put in an amount of work. In terms of the speed of improvement, it is Ofsted that said that the improvement had not been quick enough. That was the latest judgment delivered by them, looking at all of the evidence that they had available. As I said before, our support is really scrutinised, and actually in that Ofsted report, it does say that the school is receiving effective support from the local authority. They had a really good look at what we were doing. And what we do is we come into the school, we offer help and support, we lead action, and then the school works through them with the support of the government at the fastest pace that it can, just dependent on the capacity within it. So that was the most recent scrutiny of what we put in. We have put in a lot. This is a consultation.
What's a lot? Can I just ask, because you're not giving us any specific, is a lot to you 2 visits? Or is a lot to you 20 visits? You haven't answered Victoria's question at all. You haven't given the specifics.
I would feel quite uncomfortable breaking down that support into kind of detail. But we had Nicky at the back. How much would you say in terms of your confidence of sharing about visits, etc.?
Nothing just so that Ed doesn't have to do any teaching and she can get on with putting the school on.
Absolutely.
So if we go back to the last point I wanted to make, which is this is a consultation about this current one was started because of school basis. I have been very determined throughout this, and I hope Nicky will attest to this, that we support her staff to continue working for the children, so that as far as possible, the school improvement journey continues with, you know, whatever we can do to make sure that the children in this school's education carries on. Whether or not we as a collective, so the school, with us working, has had the impact we want it to have, we'll be seeing when the next set of SATS results come. So does that, I haven't told you exactly how many days, how many whatever. However, okay, that has been dictated, that hasn't been us imposing, that has been a conversation with the school, the governors and the head about what collectively we think will move it forward.
And as what Victoria asked, is that the same amount that the federated school over the other side of the island had, that's gone from requiring improvement to being good? Because that was the question.
I would say that the needs of both the schools, the head and the governing body, are met, and this school has not gone short.
Thank you. I know there's probably some related questions. This gentleman at the front of his hand up like 10 minutes ago. Is there a question, sir?
My daughter came here, and now my grandson comes here, and my other grandson will be going to preschool and come to also, if it stays open. My question is, I've got 3 actually. On one of your slides, it's got council making a decision, and another from someone's, I can't remember who it is, Councillor Brading is making a decision. Is it a council decision, or is it a one-person decision? And if this building closes, what do they intend doing with it? And thirdly, when you say support for the school, does that include the building maintenance? Because it's sadly lacking in this school. The council have let this building slide. That's why people it has been left to decay, so the council can close it easily.
Okay. So I think there are 3 questions there. Should we address the maintenance one first?
In terms of investment, well, the reality is the council receives money from capital investment and it invests that money in all of its schools on a priority basis. So the level of investment,
They have done nothing for years. Nothing for years.
I suspect they have.
No.
The level of investment will be the level of investment across the school estate. But they can only spend the money they have that comes
Okay, so where's the money that central government gave our school? Why has it been put on hold? Why haven't you allowed us to spend it?
I think what you're talking about is the potential investment that the DFE are considering. Yes. Private Schools Building Programme 2 investment. That, at this point in time, in discussion with the DFE, is still progressing.
Is it progressing faster than your consultation?
It's all I can say is it progresses at the required rate of the government and the DfE.
So potentially it's way too slow.
No, actually, I don't think it is way too slow, and it's managed by another department, so I'm not. But it's progressing at the same rate as all the other schemes, and it's a rate set by the DfE.
I was told it was 2015.
Yeah.
2015 when it was first looked at.
The challenge is that this is government funding, and the government set the time parameters around it. There's a lot of work
So if only your decision over the consultation and the closure could be delayed for a similar amount of time, you know, so that we could play out the investment in the school.
So the potential investment and the programme works around it remain ongoing with the DfE.
But it's okay to spend a load of money on expanding St Saviour's and closing our school instead of investing in this school and using the money to invest in this school, which is the best size. How's that
I Richard can address that.
I'm not finished with this. So that's the investment bit. You're going to have to repeat that.
It's about the single, for another rating, it's about the single decision.
The decision,
the council decision.
The governance of the council is, in one sense, beyond me, but they are set up in such a way that they have delegated members, cabinet members that take decisions in relation to their portfolio. That's how many councils are set up nowadays. They don't have committees like they used to. The executive member could, if he or she chose to, seek to get a collective decision from the cabinet. But that's a discussion for elected members and not one for people involved in.
There was a middle question as well.
So, two other questions. When I said about investing into this building, it comes under health and safety issues. Because part of the buildings are falling away, like window sills, concrete window sills, onto these areas. To be addressed sooner rather than later. And what is going to happen to it if it does close?
Should we move on? I can quickly answer the last one, just around ownership, because I think the site is owned by two parties. The diocese own the buildings and the subsequent park area, and the local council owns what amounts to the playing fields. So there's two ownerships and two sets of challenges around that, but that's the ownership.
Okay. Some people waiting patiently. I'm going to come to you, sir, and then right at the very back.
Yeah, thank you for giving me another bite for chewing. Just in terms of public meetings, I think this has been fantastically well attended. And as someone who goes to often public consultations with about 3 or 4 people, if you're lucky, I think it's really great to see so many people, which just shows what a passion there is about the issue. You see parents, local businesses, school governors, trade unions, parish councillors, ex-councillors, and a whole range of people, and the eloquence that's been referred to has been on display, and the sheer passion and common sense about not just the school, about the community, about the developmental issues, about the economic issues of this area, I think have been fantastically well made. And my question is this, and it alludes to the question is this a decision that's too big for one person? And I want to ask about how you're going to be able to convey, not just in words, but the sheer weight of opinion from this meeting to the cabinet member, who I know, I'm never going to vote for him, he knows that, but he's a nice enough guy. But the point is, I'm having a discussion with him. I believe he's already under the impression, well, yeah, that's the right, Mark, I know what your members say, I know what people may say, but I think it's a failing school, and I know that's, and to overturn that, you need this weight of opinion, coming forward all the time. I know the campaign's underway, and it's great what's planned, but I really think that needs to be carried on. My question is, what is going to be conveyed to this meeting? And another rhetorical question, really, although a real question, is what a shame it is, and why is it that Paul isn't here?
Many of your points were rhetorical, but
but there was a question as to how this is going to be conveyed.
It was, and I was going to make sure. I mean, it's a reiteration of what we said earlier about the opportunities that you had to write and now this evening say. This is not a statutory face-to-face need. We are here because we want to be here. We could have perhaps done this a different way. I'm sure you wouldn't have welcomed that. So this is a verbal opportunity which is being recorded. If you think there's another way which you can get your views across, then obviously you must let us know that as well. If you think there's any shortcomings in the way in which we try to address your concerns, then you must let us know that as well.
Well, can I make a suggestion then?
There are quite a number of
questions.
questions.
I just make a very quick suggestion of how we can solve that point. I just want to say, if you want to impress Paul Brady, he will be at Mer Place, 4:30 to 5 tomorrow.
I would have said that.
What I hope is a very good question. It's actually piggybacking off the back of the question that Martha over there wanted to ask. And the rationale for asking the question is because I'm always about, so what do we need to do? And anyone to have a viable alternative proposal. My question is, and you may not be able to answer, it's the lady in the middle, because you're not remembering your name.
Natalie.
If you're in a position where you are improvement required, if that's, you may might not be the right order, how long generally do you give a school to turn performance around to being good? That's my first question.
The average length of time is, I'm about to say something. It's between 2 and 3 years. A supported school should move to good. That's the standard length of time it has taken our school teams to do that.
So I'll hold that. Then there's 3, but I'll be really quick on promises because they're related to sound good. So on that basis, if I'm a head teacher or a governess, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being perfectly clear, how clear would a head teacher and governess be on the required progress on a 6-monthly or monthly basis that they needed to meet?
I would say they'd be very clear.
Okay. And so then if I ask the question of Nikki and her management team, by what date they've written down that they needed to achieve certain outcome with certain inputs, would your teams and their teams be the same answer?
I'm really sorry, I didn't hear the beginning bit of what you said.
So if I ask Nikki by what date they agreed to clearly achieve the outcome that you wanted and those measures, would her answer be the same as your team?
Yes, it should be.
Should
The difficulty is when you plan for improvement and you put a date there, everybody might be very clear about what's expected by that date. If that doesn't happen, there are not always straightforward reasons as to why that has taken place. So, but the clarity around the actions and the timeliness of them is what we are trained to do when we work with schools.
I just want to thank you very much. The reason it's clear is I want to be clear that I didn't ask those questions for you to question the governors and the teachers at this stage. It was to understand the speed of the turnaround that would be needed in an alternative approach. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, there's lots of hands going up. We've got 10 minutes. If I can just get you to answer your questions quite succinctly, then you'll get a response. I think it's about 8 or 10 hands up. The lady at the back, please. Yes.
We've got 20% special educational needs children and we've also got an extra additional 25% that has additional needs. That is 45%. Now then, these children, they are making progress. Every child is making progress. It's a smaller school, they're learning in smaller groups. It's a nurturing school. We care dearly for the children. You know, is it fair to move these children?
any response from the Academy? It seemed to me like it was a question that was about making a representation, if you like, about the needs of those particular children. Is that fair enough? Okay, thank you. This lady, please.
Yes, I've got a quick question. I've read all the reports and I've seen all the information you've given me today, and a lot of what I see, especially things about the Ofsted and the school's performance and how it's improving, I would question, because I've heard lots of other information, I've seen lots of other reports. My children attend here, so I've seen it for myself of what school it is. My biggest concern of going up to St Saviour's is the transport, of the walking up there. I've got 4 children, 1 in a buggy, a toddler and 2 school children. I've asked Mr Braden to come and have a look at what he's proposing that we walk. My concern is how are you going to represent and show what that position is actually like? Because the reports you've given show what you want him to see. They don't show what's actually
Rachel, is Councillor Braden going to come with you on the walk?
No, it's not. No.
Oh, he's rejected that.
I think it's Tom's actually been responding to me about it. He hasn't replied to me.
I have the pleasure of responding to most of that.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the YouTube video?
I did watch it, thank you very much.
The transport question, there's like a technical answer which I've got to give you, and then there's another bit that it's interesting, and perhaps we can follow it up very briefly at the end, just in terms of the walk that you're planning. The technical answer is, and I'm saying this because it's somebody else's rule, so it's sort of easy for me to say, which is that the law says that children can walk up to 2 miles to school until their 8th birthday, and on their 8th birthday they wake up magically able to walk 3 miles to school. Now, I'm paraphrasing the legislation, and I'll tell you, it's a fact, and I'll tell you something else because you'll look it up if I don't tell it you. It was first written in 1944, and I believe it was restated in 1996, so they'll tell you it's part of the 1996 Education Act.
Yeah.
But by telling you those years, you can see that maybe it's not been recently reassessed. I've got 3 kids. I wouldn't have fancied a 1.99 mile walk with all 3 of them up to the local primary school, but it's what the law dictates to councils like the Isle of Wight Council about how it sets up something called its home school transport provision. So once the journey is more than 2 miles to your nearest suitable school, then we do have a duty there. If it's not 2 miles, we then go into, I think, what we're discussing now, perhaps in this little interaction, which is actually, what are those routes like? And if there is any route that is less than 2 miles, that counts as the duty being met. That then goes on to a next point, which I think you're also making, which is what's the real routes that are available and what do they look like, and are they, and the words we're starting to use now, in law it's safe, but I would say safe and suitable in all of my conversations on this. So there's a combination of safe in technical terms and then suitable because, for instance, if it involves something that's a little bit off-road, if it hasn't got a surface, then it might be suitable through the lovely summer months, but much less suitable in December and January. So my point up there, somebody suggested it had been fully risk assessed. There is a route, and there are routes that take you up to the St Saviour's. Whether or not they're all risk assessed is a slightly different point. Whether or not all of the routes from your homes to what is a St Saviour's destination, clearly we haven't done all of those because, you know...
No, there's 2 main bits.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly let's have that conversation. In the event that the authority takes a position which is around, we believe this route is safe, there is then a further due process which allows you to appeal against that. And so we can go down that route as necessary. And it might sound, I said at the start off being technical, it might sound technical, but that's how it has to be. This is going on all around the island right now. A family living 1.5 miles from the school will be told there's a route available to you, and if they want to challenge it, they can. It starts off as an officer process because there's so many families and so many schools and so many routes, and then it goes into a further due process, and then there is a route of appeal that takes you back to elected members to hear that appeal.
Will we see what you tell Mr. Brady? So will we
Yeah,
see what
absolutely,
you give him to
absolutely,
tell him about
yeah.
those roads out there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't wait for it to be something that's part of a report to Councillor Brady. You can have this direct from me. There is nothing I'll provide to him privately that wouldn't be available to you as consultees in this conversation.
Okay.
Can I just ask about transport?
Just while you're on transport. So, the only option is that my children have to go to St Saviour's if the school closes. I don't want them to go to St Saviour's. The next nearest school that fits both my children in is Bryston. Are you as a council, because you're taking away my school, going to provide free transport for my children to get from this village to Bryston?
If your nearest suitable school, and that's defined in law as well, so it just has to...
Yeah, I know the law, because I've read all the transport.
It meets the age range and so on, so it doesn't talk to the point around faith, is perhaps what I was saying in that comment.
Yeah.
If your nearest suitable school with places is more than 2 miles away, then the local authority has a duty to provide.
But in this circumstances, you're trying to force me to a school I don't want to go to. So I'm saying to you, I don't want that school, I want an alternative. Will you provide the transport?
I can't guarantee to provide that transport.
Right. Thank you.
It's full anyway.
Well, that's fine. Yeah.
There are 4 people who've been waiting very patiently, and I've identified them at the front. If we've got time, if their questions are short, then we will push it a little bit further. This gentleman.
My name is Darren, I'm a parent at the school. My question is really touching on a subject that I think someone over there was mentioning about an underlying reason behind this decision and rumours that have been going around. My wife went to this school many years ago. This is not the first time that someone has attempted to close this school.
Yeah.
Has this got anything to do, and can you deny, it's got anything to do with this land?
I can
I've
absolutely
been
say
told
it
that
hasn't.
we've got housing being built, the school's been left to rot, and there's a lot of talk going around so apparently that what it is, they're after the land. They want the land, they want to build on this land, which is why they're coming up with the numbers may be falling, but it's a case of, well, if that is true about the land, we need to come up with all this to give them another reason why we're doing this.
Okay. I can absolutely hand on heart say there is no discussion I'm aware of or involved in that looks at this as a potential development site. This is a consultation about provision of education in certain spaces. There is no conversation going on, and it would be an incredibly complex conversation because of the ownership about housing. Okay, thank you, Richard. This lady, please.
I'd just like to say that we are not a piece of paper, we are not a statistic, we are a community. Yeah. As such, where is one person who's making the decision? Where is Councillor Hill?
He said he's in bed.
How do you know that?
Thank you very much. I can answer that. I don't know where he is. He's not in bed.
He's watching the soap.
It's a fair point, is
Yeah.
it not? We're not.
Can I just say on that point, it's been raised a number of times, we probably can't answer it for you. What I can say to you is that I've done these school organisation consultations many times, and it has never been the norm for the elected members to come to this part of a consultation. And that is, it is, I know, and I'm just saying to you, and I'm going to make another point, which is, nor have on any of the previous occasions we've done this work, has this question been raised in these terms so explicitly from the floor. So we'll take back your comment on that point, but Councillor Brady isn't missing from the conversation he would normally be at, and I would say that is true of all of the times I've seen this in other authorities. You want to raise that point and we'll take it back, but it is quite normal for officers to come and have this conversation with the community, with wider communities if more than are in one room. The design of this consultation and the next conversation that's already planned does not at the moment involve any of the councillors or members of the cabinet, because this is how these things have often run. So you have your view on it, we will certainly take that back.
I'm sorry, I think we've got time for 2 more people. One of those is Carly, so we'll be quite content.
Both of them are Carly. my question is quite straightforward. What is the proposed expansion of St Saviour's?
In terms of?
In terms of, it's the proposal that one of the preferred proposals is to close down All Saints and expand St Saviour's.
So St Saviour's to one form
How does that work?
Okay, can I answer that? Because I think it's you might be asking a physical question about expansion, and I think you're also asking an expansion about school and structure within the school.
Yes.
So somebody asked a question about two temporary classrooms and how they would be used and would it be. I do want to answer that question, and I did at the time, but you were in full flow. So the intention is that in the event of this playing out, and St Saviour's becoming a one-form entry primary school, it would admit 30 children into year R, and it would have in its physical structure and its organisational structure, its teaching structure, 7 classes and accommodation, physical accommodation, and again that teaching accommodation for classes of 30. So any children that did join the school wouldn't be from elsewhere and taught in some sort of group apart. It would be expected that those classes that are being organised in a certain way, and it's not as straightforward as talking about, because the admission number is 20, they're not 720s, I think you know that, I'm telling you something you already know, that they mix age teach, and they would have to pick apart that structure and look at single year groups and a wider school of 210, and a typical one-form entry primary school structure would then come about. Does that answer the question?
Will we be taking our teachers?
No, not the class of 46 and just read that.
So what are you going to do about
Hang on. We're not shouting from the floor. We haven't done that all evening, and I think it's actually meant that we've tackled many more issues more clearly. So there's some hands that are going up now. I did say that we were getting very close to the end. Charlie, if you are short, there's a lady behind you.
Yes, mine is actually Councillor George Cameron rang me today and asked me to convey this as part of the meeting. So these are Councillor George Cameron's words.
Thank you.
And he said, the people who are making decisions do not know this area, and they have not been listening to local knowledge. They are not aware of the local facilities that are needed for our school. This will be the mistake of the century if All Saints closes.
Okay, yes, yeah, noted.
That was all that.
No, that's fine, thank you. And that was obviously before we came here tonight.
Yeah, that was George Cameron, obviously being one of the parents that has been quite heavily involved in things, so, I mean, conversations with a lot of people, so he wanted that stated tonight.
Okay, I did specifically say at the beginning that we were going to finish at 8, and there's just a small rounding out. This lady has been very eager for about another last 15 minutes.
I'm interested if you've dealt with the practicalities of the children getting to school. The gentleman there's got 3 children. Have you ever walked to school 2 miles with maybe a 4.5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a baby in a pram?
No pavement.
No pavement. And picking the children up, you've got this little lad who's tired out and hardly get home. My children all came to All Saints Thursday. How I got my little boy home without him falling asleep on his legs when he first got to school, I do not know. And I think that's disgusting. You've just got to really think about that, the practicality. And if an order of us, our mums, going to go as well, and the other children as well, will there be facilities for the mums to all go and bring them back? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Thank you.
I have to start again from the same place as I started in my first response, which is this 2-mile thing is statutory. This 2-mile thing applies right now to families all across the island who happen to live 1.95 miles from their nearest school. And so, whilst I know what the next point for you to make is, but you're putting us in that position, but it isn't the Isle of Wight Council's legislation. It's set at central government. You can look it up, 1944, 1996. Is 2 miles appropriate now? I don't know, but I do know that it's what all of us have to work to
Well, there
in our
are
statutory
children that probably live in Edinburgh Road, you can live in Edinburgh Road or you could live in the Avenue. If you're living in Edinburgh Road, you've got twice the distance. Yeah.
Okay.
It's impossible.
Okay, we are going to stop there. It's just I do appreciate that there are questions that perhaps have been given a chance to say this evening.
What about year 3?
I'm happy to take that question if you want to. Okay. There are more children in year 3 than there are places available. In the event of a school closure, and in the event of an ongoing conversation from here on in, and I know I'm talking to a group of people who refer to school reorganisation and also the Western Academy, and no one specifically mentioned the closure of the Western Academy, but I've worked with the school and the community then around what happened. And what has to happen is twofold. One is the outcome at the end, which is all children get a school place. And on the way to all children getting a school place is there has to be a process that is the admissions process that I think you as parents all know. So I know choice is your word and I say preference, but there has to be an opportunity for you to express a preference. And then as you do that, I look at what comes in, and I say that in the sense that it's almost literally that. It's just one or two of us would look at all of these preferences, they come into the system, and we would have to try and best put all the children into school places. Now, in terms of other year groups, I can say to you there feels like there's enough school places, but there isn't necessarily, because if your parental preferences, and I'll just say it, are all for Yarmouth, and all of those spaces don't exist at Yarmouth, then I can't meet your preferences. So if this carries on and becomes a school closure, and children have to leave their current school and go somewhere else, you as parents get to interact with the admissions function, and we would meet as many preferences as possible, and I'm sure we would fall short on that, but we will provide a school place for all year groups, and it will involve some schools taking more than 30 in year 3, I think.
That's unaccessible.
Okay. That's your point of view, and I'm offering you the answer. But yeah.
Would you keep them all together?
Okay.
Parental preference is the first thing that I have to work to. If you choose not to go to the same destination, I have to try and act on that.
Oh, okay, we are going to stop there. We've had 2 hours now. There's been plenty of opportunity. But we are going to need to stop. There were some forms that you might be aware of when you came in, that we would encourage you to put any outstanding questions or comments down, and they will be taken into account in the final report that Richard will be putting together. Take one with you on the way out and pop it in the post. Or please fill in the consultation online. Thank you very much.